Yes, now, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Thomas Rants YouTube channel. Let's talk NXT Vengeance Day. It's long overdue, this video, as per every video, but we're here regardless. Let's talk about it. So we opened up the show with Blake Monroe and Jada Parker. It's a shame I did not make a predictions video for this video, because it probably would have been an interesting one. For this particular match, I think it's good for both women, because both women are major stars in the NXT Women's Division and deserve to be in major title pictures, and unfortunately they're not. So having this feud against each other utilizes both of them, and I think they're great for each other. And whoever won this match, I don't think it mattered, because they both have rights to win this match. It was a very good match. It's a street fight. It's kind of hard to mess up a street fight. There was some decent bumps in there that both women took. There was good table spots, kendo sticks between the ropes, chairs wedged between the ropes. Everything was amazing. And eventually, in the end, Blake Monroe ended up getting the win. She used some diamonds instead of thumbtacks, and she proper chucked Jada off the top rope onto diamonds. Oh, it was brutal. But Blake Monroe got the win. I'm interested to see if they're going to continue this feud, or if Blake's finally going to go chase the title, but I doubt it, given that the women's title division is very stacked. The next match would have been Tony D'Angelo and Dion Lennox, and of course this started out in the parking lot. Tony D'Angelo went after all of Dark State. Now remember everything I've talked about when it comes to Tony D'Angelo and him having aura the last time we seen him. I mean, the way he beat up Stax and Luca for everything they were doing, oh, it was amazing. And he kind of had the same thing again. I mean, he was taking on 4 people at once in a parking lot. Like, it was like a movie, throwing them into fucking fences and just beating the shit out of them. Eventually, obviously, the numbers got to him, but that's when OTM came to help out. And eventually, Tony and Dion made it to the ring. And I wonder if this is why they stayed at the Performance Center, so they could do it in the parking lot, because for a PLE, particularly the one on the road to WrestleMania, or well, Stand and Deliver, you'd think they'd go to an arena, because they've been going to arenas, and they're going to go to an arena in like 2 weeks' time for an NXT show. So I don't know why they were still at the PC, but they were still at the PC. And this was a very decent match, very hard-hitting. Dion's a hard-hitting man, but Tony D'Angelo's an even more hard-hitting man. Again, I hate to say it, and like, Roman Reigns is someone who has aura just from his presence, but watching Tony D'Angelo in the ring, and I hate to use the word, but he has aura, man. The guy is a badass, and I can't wait for him to go to the main roster. He destroyed Dion Lennox. He's already done Cutler James. He's now done Dion Lennox. I can imagine next it's Osiris and Saquon, even though he's already made them lose their NXT Tag Team titles. So God knows what's next. God knows what's in store for Stand and Deliver. Hopefully an NXT title. And then after that, main roster, hopefully. But he's probably going to have a run as NXT champion. Then our third match out was Izzy Dame defending her newly won, she's only had the title for a month, Women's North American title against Tatum Paxi. Now, I feel like the Women's North American title, just like this feud with Izzy and Tatum, has been all over the place. The Women's North American title was in a good place when it was over the shoulder of Blake Monroe. Then, thanks to a botch, either by Blake or the referee, the title was put on Thea Hale. She didn't hold it very long. They didn't put it back on Blake Monroe. And in fact, Izzy Dame ended up with it, which I kind of thought was a decent decision, because she's doing well with her storyline. She's been telling a great story. She just lost the feud to Tatum Paxley. So winning the title was a nice payback for that. And then she started feuding with Tatum over the title. Thea didn't get a proper rematch. And now Tatum has won the title. And if I made a predictions video, I would have said Izzy retains, because Tatum already beat Izzy. And Izzy's not held this title a long time. It would be kind of fair to have, well, Izzy win this match, make it 1-1, and retain the title for a bit longer, because we've still got about a month until Stand and Deliver. That would have added another month onto Izzy's reign, and that would have meant we could have had a tiebreaker at Stand and Deliver. But no, apparently NXT sees it differently. I'm not going to hate on it, because Tatum's doing a great job as a character, and obviously she's over as fuck, so fair enough. And if you're not going to pass around the main title, the women's NXT title, you might as well pass around a mid-card title. And the match was unbelievably banging, like potentially match of the night. It's in competition with Tony D and Dion Lennox, because that match, it was incredible. It was nothing short of incredible. That, like, if AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura at Saturday night's main event hadn't already happened, I would have been putting this in the conversation, but I don't think anything's going to reach the level of AJ Shinsuke not quite yet. Maybe not until Mania. We had a couple backstage segments, OTM calling out Dark State after they attacked them, and the newly formed faction of Stax, Ariana Grace, Lexis King, and Uriah Connors trying to convince Charlie Dempsey to get with them because they're all second-generation superstars. And I never realised this. I knew Lexis King was the second-generation superstar as Brian Pillman's son, and I knew Ariana Grace was Santino's daughter. I don't think Stax is actually a second-generation superstar. He's just aligned with Ariana Grace, so fair enough. And this is where I learned who Uriah Connor's dad was. He is the son of Fit Finley. That's actually pretty cool. And I didn't even know that Charlie Dempsey is a Nepo baby. Charlie Dempsey's dad is William Regal, apparently. I don't know if they're just playing that for the story, but now that actually makes a whole lot of sense. His accent, I mean, he's not British, but he's got a difference to his accent. The look, the hair, just the swag, like, it actually makes a whole lot of sense. And obviously, Tavion Heights isn't a Nepo baby, but he was trying to reform the NQCC one last time to take on Lexis and Uriah. And I think we're here for it. But I do think we're probably going to get Charlie turning on Tavion and joining these Nepo babies, because they're not really doing much with Charlie. I mean, Ren Sinclair is doing our own thing, forming the Ren QCC. Tavion and Miles have obviously already moved on their own ways, so I think this would be something interesting to do with Charlie Dempsey. So fair enough. It does bug me a little bit that Stax is the only one in there that isn't a Nepo baby, but he is with Ariana Grace, so technically his stepdad is Santino Marella, so it's kind of a cool twist to add to the story. Then we had Robert Stone, formerly known as Robbie E in GTS Wrestling. We had Robert Stone, the acting interim general manager of NXT, come out, welcome Fatal Influence out. JC Jane cut a promo on how she's been doing very good as NXT Women's Champion. Out came Zarya to say, look, your win, or DQ win, was bullshit. I deserve a rematch. Out came Soul, saving Zarya, who nearly froze in a promo, and saying, well, if you want to talk BS, this is BS, Zarya's been saying Soul's been holding her back, but realistically, like, Soul was bringing Zarya up. And this is where I kind of thought, okay, here's Robert Stone about to announce that we're going to get Soul, Zarya, JC Jane at Stand and Deliver. And then he said it will be JC Jane, Zarya, Soul, Ruka in a triple threat match for the NXT Women's Championship on an episode of NXT that's in front of a crowd in Austin, Texas. Houston, is it Austin or Houston? It's in Texas. No, this means that isn't happening at Stand and Deliver, right? Because they're not going to do it on an episode of NXT and then run it back at Stand and Deliver. So what's going to happen at Stand and Deliver? Is JC going to retain and defend against someone else? And we're just going to get Zarya, Soul, Ruka one-on-one? Is Soul going to win? Is Zarya going to win? And then we're going to get a title match? God knows what's actually going to happen, and I'm interested. I don't like changing titles this close to Stand and Deliver or WrestleMania. I feel like they've rinsed it too much. It's too obvious, and I don't like it. It kind of ruins, like, the last year. Like, I mean, you're meant to build up all year to WrestleMania and Stand and Deliver. To change a major champion right before Mania and right before Stand and Deliver just feels like you've completely undone everything right before, like, the main acts. Like, you've rewritten the script straight away. So I'm kind of hoping, if that's the case, and we're not getting this triple threat match at Stand and Deliver, that we get a JC Jane retain. Because, like she says, she has carried the women's division on her back. Not necessarily, obviously everyone's been doing their shine, but she's done a great job as NXT Women's Champion, and we did all think she was going to be a transitional champion, so I think she deserves to go to Stand and Deliver as champion and defend it against a worthy challenger, possibly maybe even a Blake Monroe who just won a feud, or a Lola Vice, but we've kind of already seen that. And maybe, yes, culminate the feud, get a proper one-on-one match between Zarya and Soul Ruka at Stand and Deliver. We then had the NXT Underground match to end the feud between Kalani Jordan and Lola Vice, which obviously you can imagine Lola Vice actually got the win in. I'm glad they actually respected the fact that she's got the MMA talent. They've already kind of gave Kalani that edge by making her tap for the first time ever in a match. So she beat Kalani Jordan, which is fair. That's the right decision. I think Lola's got actual star power with how over she is and her actual in-ring ability. She's got star power. That brings us to the main event. In my opinion, the worst match of the night. The most least worthy of being the main event. But it was the only major title defended. And to be honest, for a card leading up to WrestleMania, to have 5 matches and only 2 being title matches, A, is questionable, but B, is actually impressive because they managed to pull off an entertaining card where I would say, well, the title matches were had the least hype, but I mean, one of them, the Women's North American title, was the best match of the night. But, like, fair play. And I guess, you know, Ricky Saints, Joe Hendry, it's not had as much hype. It's just kind of over the title, and the match wasn't great, but it is for the NXT title. So over 3 non-title matches and a mid-card title match, I suppose it needs to be the main event. And I kind of do just blame it on Joe Hendry. Like, he's not for me. I get his gimmick's cool. Like, I get he's over. His song's catchy. I get the funniness of it. As an in-ring performer, I mean, maybe for some people it's acceptable. I don't know what it is for me. He's not necessarily bad. I just think he's a bit of an overreactor. He's kind of trying to steal John Cena a bit. I mean, he literally did hit an attitude adjustment in the match. He's not for me. But obviously, they're not going to switch the title straight away. In my opinion, the title should have never went to Joe Hendry, but it is what it is. And Ethan Page actually got involved in this match towards the end because he's been at a loss since he lost his North American title. And Ricky's been trying to convince him that it's going to be Kay. And Ricky's going to win this NXT title and, you know, all this sort of stuff. And that's when Ethan kind of thought, hang on, I've won that title before. That title's more prestigious. And now you can tell Ethan, in order to get over his North American title loss, is going to start aiming for the NXT title, and that's why he came out and didn't even focus on the match, just started looking at that title. Ricky asked for help, and Ethan accidentally threw it to Joe Hendry by mistake, and it nearly cost Ricky. You know, Ricky eventually then hit a low blow, and Joe Hendry, being Super Joe Hendry, kicked out, and eventually in the end, Joe Hendry ended up getting the win, and it kind of was Ethan Page's fault, but it wasn't really. It was Ricky Saints' fault, because he had every chance to take advantage over on Joe Hendry there, but he didn't. So Joe Hendry retains. Ethan Page is going to get involved in this storyline somehow. Either Ricky and Ethan are going to fall out, and that's what we're going to get to Stand and Deliver, and maybe we'll get a Joe Hendry, Tony D'Angelo at Stand and Deliver. I'd like that. Maybe Ethan will go after the NXT title at Stand and Deliver. Maybe we'll get a triple threat match between Joe Hendry, Ricky Saints, and Ethan Page. I'm here for it regardless. I think if we walk out of Stand and Deliver with either Ethan Page or Tony D'Angelo as NXT champion, I will be happy. I will be a happy bunny. But that is my opinions on NXT Stand and Deliver. A very good PLE, especially for a lot of non-title matches. I'm very satisfied. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.